It's Ebony Vaughn, and as always, I come to you by way of Nexus Wellness Group, and I often like to come with a word of encouragement, with a word of equipping, and or a word of empowerment. And today, what I want to talk about is something that I think is so important, not only in our walk with God as a leader, but also in our personal lives. And what I want to talk about is learning to trust ourselves and God. Too often we focus on scriptures that tell us to not put our confidence in flesh. We put in scriptures that tell us that we are not to operate in our own thinking, but we are to be led by God and we are to trust in Him. And all of those things in the various scriptures that we have read about, that we ponder on, that we know so much about are very true. And I do not take away from that. But I also think that it is truly important that we learn that learning to trust ourselves and trust God, they go hand in hand. Okay. What I am learning more and more is that when fear or self doubt shows up, it can cloud our ability to hear the inner wisdom or the quiet guidance of the Holy Spirit. But recognizing that fear is often just a mask for doubt is the first step towards this freedom. Do you understand what like sometimes we think that we are experiencing fear when really it's just that we don't trust ourselves enough and or we doubt whether we believe or understand. And it is important for us to know that it's okay and it's even good to take time to strengthen our trust in ourselves. Now, here's the thing, we are still trusting in God and we are still not just leaning on our understanding, but there must be a belief and a conviction that resides within each individual person to make decisions as well as to trust God. Okay. You don't have to have all the answers right away. Sometimes trusting God means believing that even when you don't understand everything, you're still being guided by God. Does that make sense? I think the other part that we have to understand is trusting ourselves means believing that we have the strength and the wisdom within us, planted there by God, to make good choices and to learn and to grow. One of the things that I talk about so often, whether it is working with my clients or whether it is talking to leaders, sometimes we have to trust ourselves enough to make a decision, understanding if that decision does not go the way we expected it, we can make another one to get us back to where we need to be. Now, is this all about just self? No. Oftentimes when we are stepping out on faith and when we are believing God and aligning our actions with what we believe, we take risk, right? And I think that part of our growing in our faith is becoming more and more sensitive to God's voice, but it's also becoming more and more willing to take risks based on the information that we receive and what we believe according to our faith. And so, again, I think that it's so important that we learn to trust ourselves as well as God. God bless you, everyone. And I hope that this was encouraging to you. Have an amazing week.